Your salary isn't just a number, it's a strategy. And most seven-figure founders are either underpaying themselves out of guilt or overpaying and strangling their cash flow. I sat with a founder doing 1.8 million in revenue when I asked what is he actually paying himself? And that's a tough question to ask, right? You've got to have earned the right by then. But as a coach and a mentor, a trusted advisor to them, people do say, look, this is the reality, Lewis. And then he looked embarrassed. Well, it's not his fault, right? It's not, well, it is his fault, but he doesn't know any different because he's never been shown how. See, a lot of people, advisors, consultants, they advise you on different parts of your business, but none of it really matters if you're not actually getting what you want out of it. And this is the point of being an entrepreneur mentor, is it's not just about the fame and glory of how much your business makes. Yeah, well, not even makes. People talk revenue. Revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. Yeah, and then people say, well, cash is king. Well, if you went into business as a business owner, your dividend is king. Yeah, and your dividend doesn't have to be an income dividend, by the way. It could be a dividend into a investment company. Yeah, and by the way, you don't pay corporation tax twice if you do that. Yeah, if it's been taxed once, so you can put it into an investment company and you can start to scale. What you do with this though all depends on the strategy that you're taking. So it's not just a case of like seeing what's left over after the team's been paid and the wages and all the bills and all the taxes. That number, I mean, for this person, I'm obviously not going to mention any names and who I met, but they were like, they felt embarrassed that they was paying themselves the same as, in fact, some of the employees were getting paid a lot more than what they do. And the employees, even though they were A players and B players, C players, whatever, they weren't going to bed at night worrying about cash flow. They weren't going to bed at night worrying about, did I upset that customer? They weren't thinking, can I afford to keep the lights on next year? Or let's go for a positive. We've had people that lose sleep over not having the right business strategy. It's crazy, and it all comes down to not knowing what the number needs to be for you to be able to get what you want. So this business in particular was sitting on cash. They actually had money in the bank. Yeah, it was a wealthy. They had good margins. They were making a lot of money, but the guy felt guilty for pulling more out. So there's a few things going on here, isn't there? Now, I know you might be listening to this, and this is particularly for business owners and founders, because if you're an employee, we did speak about this, and if you go right the way back to when this was the A Players and 100K Club podcast, there were steps to the dance in here of how you can get paid more as well. But for business owners, especially when this is their baby, they either worry about pulling money out, or the other end of the spectrum is they pull money out too soon without understanding what the 90-day effect might be. Because remember, when you pull money out of a company, you're not just pulling out what's left of the profits, you're pulling out what's in the bank account. And the bank account can be the revenue that comes in, but then it's not the actual profit. Does that make sense? Because you need to look at what the net profit is, what the margins are, and what you're left over with. So if you've got a net margin of 10% and you've made $1 million, then what's left in the bank after it's all gone is going to be 100,000. Okay. So, and then you got obviously the taxes and all the other accounting stuff that goes on top of it as well. But you're left with a lot less here, right? So people that take out the money first, because they see $1 million in the bank. Well, first of all, your business bank account is not your personal bank account, right? You might not have ever been taught that because there isn't a driving license that you have to pass to own a business. So people that are treating their business bank account like a personal bank account and pulling it out, well, first of all, if you're doing it as a dividend, you're going to get hugely taxed on it if it's a personal income. And if you're taking it out as a director's loan, well, guess what? After a certain amount of time, you get taxed on that as well, right? So, and the company has to pay for it. So it's not just like borrowing it and sending it back. It doesn't work like that. There's a lot of taxes that are involved because people know that people do this for interest-free loans and money isn't free, okay? So you really need to think about it. We're not talking about that. The other end of the spectrum is the people that feel guilty for taking the money out because they feel that they've got to have the money in there. They need to show that there's got to be a good bank account. The banks are onto them because they don't want to see you take more money. The accountant is onto them. Look, yeah, I speak to this quite a lot, and I have accountant friends, and I know accountants listen to this, but the accountant is there to keep you safe, right? They're there to make sure that you do everything legally and correct, and they do a great job, but they're not always there to see you financially win of what you went into business for in the first place. Okay, so I'd always recommend speaking to an accountant that is also synergized with a business coach or a mentor and with a financial advisor as well. Because this is the whole idea of a boardroom table, isn't it? If you think about the guests that we've had on so far, we've talked about lead generation, we've talked about mindset, we've talked about people that have done it, we've talked about sales, we've had other mentors and coaches on here. We bring these people on to be your boardroom advisors. And you don't need to be paying for all these people when you listen to this podcast, but you do need to be moving towards it and getting in that mindset of having these advisors. When you do have these advisors in the future, they're going to be around your table to give you the best advice to get to where you want to get to. Okay. You really have to be having these people building that table so that you get the actual results that you went into business for in the first place. Otherwise, you're just going to satisfy the accountant who needs to satisfy the HMRC or wherever you may be in the world. And then all you're doing then is just working for the idea of having a business. What's the point? Okay. So really focus on what is going to move the needle into what you went into business for in the first place. Okay. So get really clear on what those goals are. If your goals was to go into business to become a millionaire, don't feel guilty about that. There's no need to feel guilty for it. Yeah, that is the goal that you went into business for. But you just got to make sure that to become a millionaire, you need to be taking out a certain amount of money, paying yourself, buying assets, and doing the right things. And you probably need the right advisors around that table to help you with that as well. Okay. So, what is actually going to move the needle is real key here. Don't just go into business and just think, okay, well, I'm going to pay myself last. These are the salary myths that most founders believe. They pay themselves last. It sounds noble, but it's a growth killer, right? What you'll actually find is that when you actually pay yourself, you don't actually really change the reality of your life. Yeah, you have your goals, but by then you're into something a lot more passionate when it comes to growing and scaling businesses. That you don't particularly want the Bentleys and the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris anymore. What you're actually after is something that goes a lot further beyond that, because that's what got you into scaling the business and what has actually worked. Yeah, the quick fixers and people that just wanted quick money, they haven't made it as far as where to understand this stuff that we're speaking about on this podcast anyway. They probably stopped when they made their first, whatever it is their goal is. And now when you actually grow and scale further, you actually think about what is it that is as that I need to be driven by, passionate by. And those are bigger than material items. Okay. But still, there's a lot of people that haven't ever bought that car, that dream car. They haven't ever bought that dream house. They haven't ever had those holidays. Why? You need to ask yourself why. And it's because they don't feel that they deserve it. They're putting the business first, or you guys are putting your business first. So this is all okay to do as long as you've got a plan. And that planning starts with, well, what are your goals? Why did you go into business in the first place? When do you plan on achieving it? If you've put down 5-10 years, by the way, why not 2? Is it just because it feels noble, because it feels like the right thing to do? Or is it because it's actually planned out strategically? Now you've got that timeline and you've got those goals of what you want to achieve, then you need to start looking at the numbers to achieve it. So let's work backwards. Let's say you do want to pay yourself 100K a year. You want to pay yourself 200K a year, 300K, 500K a year. When you work backwards from it, what needs to be true in the numbers of your business to be able to do that? Okay. Well, first of all, you can't pay yourself 500K per year if the business isn't even making that much money in profit, not revenue, profit. Okay. So what does it need to look like? For a 500K a year dollar or pound, whatever the currency it is, business, work backwards. What margin do you need on the revenue? So for 500K, if it's going to be, let's say it's working at a 10% margin, then you need a 5 million business. Okay. That's 10%. And that's the minimum, isn't it? Then you got all the taxes and everything that comes out of it. Reality is you're probably going to need a 10 million business. Okay. So now you know that to achieve the goals that you want to do, you've got to be hitting 10 million, right? So what's the next step? Go back to the previous episode. Where are you spending your time and what is happening to stop you from scaling the business to 10 million so that you can comfortably take out what you need? See, all this is becoming logical now. But as a business owner, entrepreneur, CEO, founder, even the directors, you become so passionate about playing the game that you forget what you did it for in the first place. So what do you need? You really need to be speaking with someone about this and somebody who gets it. Okay. Now, what I've found with a lot of accountants or financial advisors as well is you've got to be careful who you speak to. Some people might charge more. Okay. But do you want to take advice from somebody? I'll be careful how I say this, right? Okay. If your goal is to be a millionaire and you're taking advice from people that aren't a millionaire, that's kind of like taking advice on how to lose weight from somebody who's seriously overweight, right? If you've rocked up in the gym and you wanted to get ready for your wedding or a holiday and go on honeymoon and you wanted 6-pack abs and, be ready for it, then, and then they go, yeah, we found the personal trainer for you. Here they are. And they're rocked up and massively overweight. You'd be questioning, well, can this person actually help me? Okay. So for the advisors you get around your boardroom table, if you are going to get strategic advice for them to how to make a lot more money, make sure that they've made the money as well. They're doing it, right? Because the amount of people out there that say that this isn't what you need to do is, I don't know. That's my opinion anyway. Well, what do you guys think? Would you take advice from somebody who hasn't done it? Okay. So yeah, think about the accountants, think about the financial advisors that are helping you, think about the mentors and the coaches and the consultants that you're bringing in and go, all right, mate, cool. Well, show me your business. Show me your bank account. Yeah. Show me that you've got the evidence here that have done it. And it could be that they rock up and go, look, well, here you go. Here's the portfolio of the people that we've done it with and what they're saying and blah, blah, blah. You need to get some sort of evidence behind it. Otherwise, the strategic advice that you're getting isn't always the right advice. So the right way to decide your pay. Use your role's replacement cost as a baseline. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the show so far and getting a lot of value from it. Look, we do this for free because it's our vision to help more businesses and their teams scale and actually achieve what they went into business and their career for. So these raw boardroom style conversations deliver the real data on what works and what doesn't, saving you time, money, and most of all, making sure that you don't miss on these opportunities that could really help you scale. Sharing it with people you know really, really supports us on these podcast platforms so we can achieve our vision. So if you have a like-minded friend, colleague, or business owner that could get value from this, thank you for sharing it with them. You know who you are, and greatest respect for everybody that's doing that so far. And if you haven't, then please support us. Let's get back to the show. What would it cost to hire someone to do what you do? Yeah. Then adjust it based on what's the profit margins, what's the reinvestment that's needed, what's the personal runway. Think about it like this. The salary equals the stability. The dividends equals the reward. The reinvestment is the future. Okay. So it's like you've got 3 buckets here. What are you going to do to keep stability in your business? What are you going to do as a reward in your business? And also, we're talking about as though every piece of profit is for dividend. The profit is also there for the growth and the investment of the future. It's for the people as well that you want to reward for the people that have done it. Whether you do a bonus scheme, whether you do anything to pay back to the people, it's up to you guys. I mean, you really need to strategically be planning this out is the whole point. So how do top CEOs actually pay themselves? Think about this. Real world benchmarks. Founders between 1 million to 5 million range typically pay themselves. Look, you can pay yourself what you want. It's not what you pay yourself that matters. It's what are you going to do with that pay? Because the more you take out of the company, remember, you're going to get taxed income tax on that as well. So is it better to keep it in the company? Is it better to have it in another bank account for the future and keep the investment within the business? If you are entrepreneurial mindset, you do have that entrepreneurial mindset, you're probably thinking about what does the future hold as well and what's possible. So a lot of my clients, when it gets to a certain point, I'm like, great. You're going back and you're making micro changes now for small increments, but time is a big variable in this as well, where you just need to let it play. Yeah, you just need to let the time and the machine play out now. What about if you went and built another machine? So I do actually approach a lot of my clients. I go, I think it's time for you now to start thinking about your second business. Yeah. Or that isn't a very good coaching question, by the way. Coaching one. What would it look like if you had a second business doing the same as what you're doing right now? Oh, never really thought about that before, Lewis. Okay. What if you did? And then they go, well, every learning that's took me the last 5 years to get where I am today. Well, first of all, you could probably do it in 2. Yeah. Especially like if we're working together, we could do it quicker. So what you're saying here is that you wouldn't have to pay for it this time because you've got money in the business, because you've planned it all out and you've paid yourself, but you've paid yourself in an efficient way that you can now go and invest it. Yeah. What if you put that investment either into buying another business that doesn't know the information that we have worked together on? Yeah. In building your business to where it is today. Or you went and started another one, or you spot an opportunity in the market for to create an ecosystem. For example, if you are a manufacturing company and let's say a lot of that manufacturing has a special widget that's built for it. Well, let's put it into context. Let's say you're making toy cars, yeah, and then the toy cars are made out of plastic, and all you're doing in the manufacturing plant is placing them together. Well, then you go and buy the plastic forming factory, or you create one. You now own your production line. Okay. And then what about the distribution? Well, the distributors, you're finding that the distributors can be a bit of a pain and they try and push you down. So you go and start a toy shop and you sell the toys through your toy shop. So you're owning the ecosystem. Then what's needed? Well, we spend a lot on accounting fees. Okay, well, let's start an accounting business. Yeah. What do you need? Next accountant. There you go. Done. So you can start to build the ecosystem then, and all these different businesses contribute to each other. And what happens? Your margins are better because you are the ecosystem. But you don't think like this if we're just thinking back to the moral of the story. Let's just take money out of the business. Or, oh, I'm just going to keep money in the business for a rainy day. Typically, if your revenue is 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, if you should be keeping 10% in capital. Yeah, you should be keeping that. You should be keeping some of that back as well. Okay. So is it possible then, if you think about it, to have too much saved in the business? Yes, it is. And this is back to the story. The person I met that had money in the business. I'm like, why? Why are you keeping that much money in the business? And the reality is because they've never been taught what to do with the money, right? Money in a business, you've got your interest rates. You can put it into certain things. I mean, there's a good application if you want information on this. That obviously it's only protected in the UK up to, I think it's like 85,000 now. It's only protected up to a certain amount, 75, 85. And you can actually put it into distributions of different banks, different societies, so you get the best interest rate and keeps your money protected. People don't know this stuff, yeah, and this is why you recommend that you go and speak to a financial advisor that would really be able to help you. I mean, I can't offer financial advice on this. I'm just talking from experience, but yes, go and speak to a financial advisor, but somebody that knows what they're doing with businesses and investments. Okay. When you've got that money, you're reinvesting it to make it work better for you. Now, that might be your goal. It might not be your goal. It may not have even crossed your mind, but you've really got to understand here, what is true wealth? And the mindset shift here is pay as a leadership move instead. Okay. Your pay reflects your business maturity. Yeah. It reflects on your business knowledge maturity as well. If you're not exposing yourself to other entrepreneurs, then what happens is that you stick to within the boundaries of your 4 walls of your office, and you're the big fish in a little pool. Push yourself, learn more. How are others doing it? Yeah, you could be on a real gold mine right now, but you don't realize it yet because you haven't learned how to leverage your business and leverage your money.